Greats of the game, it's that time again. So for those of you that don't know, Greats of the Game is legends of the game that I do a 5 to 10 minute talk on. And again, make sure you go and check the playlist because there is quite a few players on there. You know, there's some great players, some great names. And again, it's a series that I'm thoroughly enjoying doing. And if there's any other players that you guys would like to see me discuss, then make sure you smash that in the comments, guys. But we are going to move on to a player. You know, I think it's a player that many fans probably have either forgotten, probably never heard of, or maybe both. You know what I mean? And this is a player, a nickname called the O Animal, Brazilian international as well. And again, a striker that was in the era of the likes of Romario. I think a young R9 was coming through as well. But a player, as I said, man, he was someone for me that was underrated. But I think if you watched him and you watched the passion he played with as well, this was a guy, man, that was, was a very good striker in his era, man. And he was dangerous, as well. And that is none other than Edmundo. Edmundo. Now, as I said, when it comes to Brazilian strikers, you look at R9, you look at Romario, you look at Adriano, even Bebeto. I think Edmundo's someone, you got Luis Fabiano as well, another one. And probably a few others like Fred, as well. But Edmundo's name is someone that doesn't really get the credit it deserves, really, And as I said, man, he was a very, very good striker. I remember when, I think it was for Fiorentina up against Man United. And I can't remember the game. I don't know if it was a friendly or not. But he absolutely destroyed United in one of the games, if I remember right. I have to go back and watch the clips. But those of you that, that was from that era, you'd probably realise the game I'm talking about. But as I said, man, he was very good. Left-footed, technical, he was skillful. But I think his passion for the game, man, is what made me start to take notice, because I likened him to a Carlos Tevez type. These guys are very technical, and they're just hungry to win, and these South Americans, they're just like that, you know what I mean? So it's one of them things where, a lot of them players have that in their game, but he was very, very, very good. And let's go through his numbers anyway, yeah? So, again, he spent a lot of his career in Brazil, and then moved to Italy, obviously. So, Vasco da Gama, 127 appearances, 79 goals. Palmeiras, staying in Brazil, 89 appearances, 34 goals. Then Fiorentina, which is where, for me, I first became aware of Edmundo. 37 appearances, only the 12 goals. Tokyo Verdy, I think in Japan, 31 appearances, 18 goals. Back in Brazil at Santos, 20 appearances, 13 goals. Napoli, 17 appearances, 4 goals. And then for Brazil national team, 42 appearances and 10 goals. So he won 3 Brazilian titles. Again, his partnership, guys, with Gabriel Batistuta. Batistuta, Edmundo, Rui Costa, Enrique Chiesa. Listen, they had some serious players in that Serie A back then. And again, his partnership with Batistuta, man, was lethal, One Copa America with Brazil and the one World Cup as well. And then individual, he won the Brazilian League and was voted once Brazilian Player of the Year. So, again, I think he's a striker that many have forgotten about, and it's one of them things where, if you just watch a couple of clips of him, you would see what kind of striker he was. And again, this is a striker that wasn't regarded as the absolute best, of his era or generation. But could you imagine an Edmundo in this period of football right now? And this is why I like doing the greats of the game, because it's good to see how these players would stack up right now in this era. And a lot of the players I've mentioned, well, put it this way, all the players I've mentioned in my greats of the game series, imagine them in the era of football right now, how good they'll be. And a lot of them players weren't really regarded, apart from a few, as the greatest to play the game or just the greatest of their eras. And I think that's an indictment of what the Premier League has become now, or just football in general. Because a lot of these players that were not seen as the best in their era would easily be, one of the best in this era of football right now. They would, you know what I mean? And that just shows the level that it was back then. But yeah, Edmundo, Brazilian international, you know, as I said, a long list of Brazilian strikers that they've had, you know. But yeah, I would advise people to go and watch some clips of Edmundo to get a feel just how good he was, you know. But let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think Edmundo was overrated, or do you think he was underrated? Where do you think he stacks up in the list of Brazilian great strikers? And let me know what you remember of his career, his early career. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you sub to the channel. Make sure you share the channel on all your platforms. And yeah, guys, I'll catch you for the next one. Take it easy.